Hello and welcome to Spectrum News at 12. I am Uyai Anekan, coming to you live from the beautiful hills of Abubakar. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Muhammadu Buhari assures battle against terrorists is approaching its conclusion. Nigerian Labour Congress laments worsening living condition, task leaders on good governance. Plus, Ukraine to evacuate more civilians from Mariupol. Details of the stories and more in a moment. We begin our news this afternoon with a report that President Muhammadu Buhari has assured Nigerians that the battle waged against terrorists is approaching its conclusion, adding that victory is within sight. The president gave the assurance in his Salah message to Nigerians as Ramadan reached its end. President spokesman Garba Shehu, in a statement, quoted Buhari as sending his best wishes to Muslims in Nigeria and across the world celebrating the occasion. Buhari stressed that the battle waged against terrorists who falsely masquerade under the name of Islam is approaching its conclusion. Meanwhile, the federal government has warned APM terminals at Apapa and others to adhere to government's freight forwarders directive on the collection of partition operating fee proof of fund. Speaking during a meeting between officials of the Ministry of Transportation and Council for the Regulation of Freight Forwarders and Terminal Operators in Lagos, Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, Dr. Magdalene Ajani, said since the introduction of the policy on February 24, 2021, some terminal operators have failed to comply with the agreement reached, which has resulted to loss of revenue to the country. Ajani stated that one of the importance of the POF was that it would enhance the fortunes of freight forwarding in Nigeria, adding that the ministry has given terminal operators 2 months to key into the collection of POF, after which sanctions will be applied for those who failed to abide. Away from that, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has asked the federal government to return to the negotiation table with the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, and other striking labor unions to end the lingering strike action. Atiku said this in a statement in commemoration of the International Workers' Day, adding that he feels the pains of Nigerian workers over hunger, inflation, and insecurity in the country. Atiku warned that the educational system in the country is dying gradually due to the lingering strike action by labor union. Atiku advised workers at all levels and all sectors to adopt a new approach to dispute resolution, industrial relations by pursuing labor-friendly policies and positions which will guarantee improved national productivity, warning that the educational system in the country is dying gradually due to lingering strike action by the labor union. Meanwhile, as workers across the world today mark this year's Workers' Day, otherwise known as International Labour Day, organized labor has expressed deep concerns that the country is still struggling in its quest for good governance several years after independence, while noting that successive regimes, administrations, and political leaders across different strata have promised good living and working conditions, as well as improved economy over the years, but failed ultimately. The labor movement bemoaned the pitiable condition in which Nigerians make out their livelihoods. Labor representatives who spoke with newsmen ahead of today's celebration highlighted the high rate of unemployment, galloping inflation in the economy, devaluation of the naira, low wages, widespread insecurity, the rising cost of living, a near comatose education sector, and a failing healthcare sector as some of the indices that have made life more grueling for workers. In another development, hundreds of suffering pensioners in Edo State wearing black attire with placards bearing various inscriptions protest at the Workers' Day rally at Samuel Ogbemudia Stadium, Benin, disclosing that since their retirement in 2012, they were yet to be paid their gratuities. The governor, however, says he's particularly interested in his senior citizens because they are some of the most vulnerable in our society, and assures the payment of outstanding pensions to the pensioners. Now to politics, where the head of politics and governance of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, RCCG, Pastor Timothy Olaniyan, insists that the All Progressives Congress APC presidential hopeful Vice President Yemi Osinbajo remains the only child of God and a pastor that could change the narrative of governance in Nigeria. Fielding questions from newsmen at the inaugural conference of New Era Nigeria, NEN, a political movement set to change the narrative of governance in 2023. Olaniyan said money politics in this country has led Nigeria to where it is now. According to Olaniyan, people will promise heaven on earth at the end of the day. They give 1,000 naira, 2,000 naira to eligible voters. After the election, their promises will not be fulfilled and the people they gave money will not have access to these notable politicians. Still on politics, the People's Democratic Party, PDP, has won all the 23 local government areas at the just concluded council poll held in Benue. The chairman of Benue State Independent Electoral Commission, BSIEC, Teso Loko, said this while declaring the results at the commission's headquarters in Makurdi. Loko said the PDP emerged the winner by beating the All Progressives Grand Alliance APGA and the Labour Party LP to win all the council seats in addition to 276 councillorship positions. While expressing happiness that no violence was recorded in any of the polling units, Loko thanked the people of Benue State for their support in achieving a successful poll. Meanwhile, the new Nigeria's People's Party, NNPP, has urged Muslims to use the occasion of this year's Eid al-Fitr to pray to God to guide Nigeria as it moves towards the 2023 general elections. The party, in a statement by its National Publicity Secretary, Agbo Major, in Abuja, felicitated Muslims in the country on the occasion of the 2023 Eid al-Fitr festival, marking the successful conclusion of the Ramadan fasting. He said that no doubt that Muslims who participated in the month-long fasting attracted to themselves the blessings, forgiveness, mercy, love, joy, and preservation of Allah associated with the month. Away from that, officials of the Lagos State Building Collapse Agency have begun the evaluation of occupants of a 3-story building showing serious signs of distress in Ebuta Meta. Speaking to newsmen in Lagos, the zonal coordinator Southwest National Emergency Management Agency, Ibrahim Fariloye, said though the building had not collapsed, evacuation is ongoing to save lives and property. In another development, Osun State Governor Favour Oyedepo has given a nod of approval to 7 demands of the members of the Joint Labour Movement. The governor, in his address during the celebration held at Osogbo Township Stadium, said he has approved for immediate implementation the cash backing of outstanding promotions for all categories of workers, 100% implementation of consolidated polytechnics and colleges of education academic staff salary structure, CONPAT, for which the state has already been implementing 90%, as well as the immediate implementation of 65 years retirement age for all categories of worker in tertiary institutions and 40 years length of service for teachers in the state. The approval was also given to establishment matters, that is, conduct of outstanding promotions nominally from 2019 to date, regularization, advancement, and conversion, among others, while approval was also made on appointment of permanent secretaries in due course to put an end to the use of coordinating directors in ministries, departments, and agencies. Meanwhile, Governor Aminu Tambuwal of Sokoto State has warned against politicizing insecurity in Nigeria. Tambuwal, who issued the warning in his Eid al-Fitr Salam message to the people in Sokoto, urging Nigerians to pray for peace in the country. He said there were still alarming incidents of insecurity, although leaders have intensified efforts to tackle insecurity through sustained support to security agencies and collaboration with the federal government and authorities in Niger Republic. While admonishing Muslims Umar to extend the discipline exhibited in the month of Ramadan by making sacrifices and doing many lawful things. Tambuwal further appealed to Muslims to exploit the opportunity to pray for peace in Nigeria and for the peaceful, free and fair elections to sustain democracy and usher in everlasting unity, stability and prosperity for the country. Away from that, the United Nations Children's Fund UNICEF has warned that a significant number of children, Nigerian children, especially those under the age of 5, are not getting enough micronutrients needed for their overall growth and development. It further stated that although malnutrition accounts for 45% of all child deaths, with an increased commitment by stakeholders at the federal, state and local government levels toward ending malnutrition, nearly 50% of the reasons children are dying could be averted. Back here, the Akwa Ibom Council of the Nigerian Labour Congress (NLC) has said it would only support any governorship candidate that will accede to its demands as contained in a 5-point agenda. The state's chairperson of NLC, Comrade Sonny James, who stated this during the 2022 Workers' Day celebration in Uyo with the theme Labour, Politics and Quest for Good Governance and Development in Nigeria, noted the union during its Congress resolved that workers and their families will only support candidates that will improve the living wages and prioritize workers' welfare come 2023. To achieve this, James said the union would invite all governorship candidates to the Labour House after the primaries for engagement on their manifesto and items that will bring good governance to Akwa Ibom people. He listed the items on the charter to include living wage and prioritization of workers' welfare, education, healthcare, industrialization of the state economy and physical security, social protection and good governance. In Africa, Guinea's military leader, Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya, has announced a 39-month transition period before the country returns to civilian rule. According to Colonel Doumbouya, who made the announcement during a special broadcast on television, added that the measure would be subject to National Transitional Council acting as parliament. The announcement followed the creation of what the military leader described as an inclusive consultation framework. Recall that regional bloc ECOWAS had set last Monday as a deadline for putting forward an acceptable transition timetable for risk, economic and financial sanctions. Still in Africa, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has called on the military juntas in Burkina Faso, Guinea and in Mali to hand power back to civilians as soon as possible. Speaking after meeting Senegalese President Macky Sall in Dakar, he said they had agreed on the need to keep talking to the de facto authorities in all three countries so as to get a swift return to constitutional order. All three countries struggling with a jihadist insurgency in the Sahel region have recently experienced military coups. Mali in August 2020 and May 2021. Guinea in September 2021 and Burkina Faso in January 2022. Sall, who is the current chair of the West African bloc ECOWAS, which has suspended all three countries from its membership and had imposed heavy sanctions against Mali in January after the regime there rejected a rapid return to civilian rule.
S'agissant de l'Afrique de l'Ouest et du Sahel, nous avons évoqué entre autres les efforts conjoints contre le terrorisme et l'extrémisme violent, ainsi que la situation au Burkina Faso, en Guinée et au Mali. À cet égard, nous avons convenu de l'importance de poursuivre le dialogue avec les autorités de facto des trois pays afin d'instaurer le retour à l'ordre constitutionnel dans les délais les plus brefs.
Still to come in the news, OffLeash shines again after blistering 200 meters run. Do stay with us. Thanks for staying tuned. On the foreign scene, Russian state media has urged Putin to wipe the UK off the map using his most powerful nuclear weapons as the despot propaganda machine continues to threaten mass death over support for the war in Ukraine. Kislov has claimed the drone has capacity for a warhead of up to 100 megatons, more than 1,000 times the strength of the bomb dropped on Hiroshima, which if dropped will raise a giant tsunami of up to 1,640 feet high, enough to reach halfway of Scafell Pike, the tallest point in England. Reports say the threats are the result of UK's staunch support for Ukraine, which has seen it move further and faster than other European nations in delivering arms to Kyiv to help in the fight against Russia, and has seen Johnson twice visit the Ukrainian capital to show his support. Still on the foreign scene, Ukrainian authorities are planning to evacuate more civilians from Mariupol after dozens were finally brought to safety following weeks trapped under heavy fire in the strategic port city Azovstal steel complex. The plant has endured a Russian blockade since Moscow's invasion on February 24, with stories of the harsh conditions in besieged Mariupol horrifying the world as war that has seen thousands killed and millions displaced entered into the third month. The UN said a safe passage operation was taking place at the Azovstal steel plant, adding that roughly 100 civilians have been evacuated from the besieged plant, while the International Committee of the Red Cross said it was currently participating in the operation. Meanwhile, Russia's defense ministry has said those who wished to leave for areas controlled by Kyiv regime were handed over to UN and ICRC Red Cross representatives. On our business news, a building expert, Dr. Akinsola Olufemi, has said that 95% of building projects in Lagos State do not comply with mandatory soil testing and are therefore exposed to the risk of collapse. Olufemi stated this at the Builders Business Workshop in Lagos State organized by the Lagos State chapter of the Nigerian Institute of Building to train professional builders on construction methodology and industry best practices. Olufemi, while felicitating the training exercise, disclosed that research conducted by the Yaba College of Technology revealed that the vast majority of building projects in the state ran afoul of the mandatory soil testing. Olufemi further stressed that the importance of construction methodology, noting that it had now become a compulsory requirement before the commencement of construction projects. Still in business, the International Monetary Fund has projected that Nigeria's consumer price index will hit 16.1% in 2022. The projection was presented in a tabular illustration in the IMF's Regional Economic Outlook for Sub-Saharan Africa, published on its website. Meanwhile, recent figures from the National Bureau of Statistics show that Nigeria's consumer price index rose to 15.92% in March. The rise in the inflation rate in March shows that Nigeria is not left out in the global inflation surge. In health, American Center for Disease Control and Prevention has urged physicians to be on the lookout for suspected cases of severe hepatitis of unknown origin in children. According to the CDC, out of the 169 cases of peculiar hepatitis reported so far, one child has succumbed to the disease, while 17 children have required liver transplants. This announcement is coming after the World Health Organization released 2 disease outbreak news reports on the spread of this disease in April. According to the CDC, Adenoviruses are common viruses that cause a range of illnesses. They can cause cold-like symptoms, fever, sore throat, bronchitis, pneumonia, diarrhea, and pink eye conjunctivitis. Still in health, stakeholders in the public and private health sectors have advocated stiffer penalties for manufacturers and distributors of poor quality maternal medicine in the country. The stakeholders made the call in Abuja at a program on leveraging public-private partnerships to improve access to quality maternal medicine, organized by the Nigeria Health Watch. Meanwhile, Director and Head of Reproductive Health Division, Federal Ministry of Health, Dr. Kayode Afolabi, said the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control should continue its work as the main regulatory agency. In sports, English Premier League club Crystal Palace have reportedly prepared their €12 million bid for Chelsea Youth Academy graduate and Super Eagles defender Ola Aina. Aina has just 1 year left in his contract with Italian club Torino, and they are reportedly prepared to cash in via trade rather than wait for his contract to expire. The 25-year-old started his career with Chelsea, where he made just 3 senior appearances, all as a substitute before joining Torino initially on loan in 2018, and then a permanent deal worth €10 million in 2019. Still in sports, Nigeria's very own sprinter Favour Oyedepo ran at a blazing speed in the women's 100 meters, coming in with a time of 10.93 seconds on Saturday at the LSU Invitational. With the time, Oyedepo went ahead to win the event and move up to 0.8 on the all-time college list. The sporting event held at the Benue Track Stadium, Louisiana State University in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. The 19-year-old track star, who set a new Nigerian national record in the 200 meters earlier this year, was running the 100 meters for the second straight meet. On Saturday, Oyedepo burst out of the blocks, leading her to achieve a personal best of 10.93 seconds, beating 3 Olympic and world medalists Mikia Briscoe 10.98, Aliyah Hobbs 11.11, and Jenna Parindi 11.15 in the process. On our entertainment news, a quite born Nollywood actress Iniedo has celebrated her 40 years with the people of Eket, Akwa Ibom State. The movie star, who marked the birthday in Eket, reportedly empowered over 50 women with a startup capital for business. Speaking at the event, the diva, who appreciated Akwa Ibom women and people for their continued support, promised to continue representing the state in good light. The star-studded event was well attended by industry players and friends of the actress. And that's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website spectrumtv.ng. You have been watching Spectrum News at 12. I am Uyai Anyeken. Thanks for watching and do have a good afternoon.